lost for 3 decades, sold off its rights, and stripped of its original identity in disappointing adaptations. While the Avengers were receiving massive attention, the Fantastic Four, the very foundation of Marvel Comics, were sinking into obscurity with failures no one wanted to remember. The Fantastic Four were absent from the very universe where they had once been the pioneering heroes. And when Kevin Feige's empire stood at its peak, they seemed all but forgotten. But things are different now. With Marvel's current scale and influence, the Fantastic Four have officially been welcomed back home with a film called First Steps, their very first stride after 3 decades in exile, and also the opening step into Phase 6 of the world's biggest cinematic universe. So, can the return of Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman, The Thing, and Human Torch erase the failures of the past? And can the F4 family adapt to an MCU already overloaded with heroes and weighed down by problems? Let's find out in today's video. The story is set on Earth 828, a timeline where the Avengers are not the central figures. 4 years before the events of the film, 4 astronauts, Reed Richards, his wife Sue Storm, his best friend Ben Grimm, and Sue's younger brother, Johnny, journey into space. Their ship suffers an accident that permanently alters their bodies. After exposure to cosmic rays, Reed becomes Mr. Fantastic with a body that can stretch and contort. Sue gains the ability to turn invisible and generate force fields. Ben's entire body turns into rock, granting him superhuman strength. Johnny becomes a human torch, engulfed in flames and capable of flight. From then on, they became Earth's protectors, calling themselves the Fantastic Four. In the present, as the trailer revealed, Sue and Reed are preparing for the birth of their first child, but at this very moment, a herald of Galactus suddenly appears. She announces that the World Devourer has chosen Earth for his next meal, and soon, apocalypse will descend on all living beings. Naturally, Fantastic Four has a big advantage over other Marvel projects, because its story is separated from the main MCU timeline. The writers don't have to force the family of superheroes to tie into earlier events. Nobody will be asking where the F4 were when Thanos snapped his fingers. Their immense powers don't have to be toned down to fit with the rest of Marvel. F4 get to build their own world. As promised, First Steps brings back the spirit of retro-futurism. Think of it as a New York City drenched in 1960s aesthetics. Sue Storm in mini dresses, colorful mod fashion, buffed bouffant hairstyles. Costume design draws inspiration from astronaut gear, paired with calming pastel tones. Yet within this nostalgic world lies advanced technology. Robots, flying cars, spaceships capable of reaching light speed. Earth 828 looks completely different from other Marvel films. It feels fresh, optimistic, and true to the 1960s dream of space conquest. Remember, director Matt Shakman had already recreated American TV eras in WandaVision. Now, he pays tribute to the golden age of Fantastic Four. When watching, pay close attention to the details inside the F4's home. The record players, cereal boxes, interior design, clothing, even the billboards. Everything is crafted with care, further enhanced by Michael Giacchino's richly orchestrated score. First Steps has a style truly unique in the MCU. The only weak point is the CGI, which sometimes feels undercooked. For example, when Mr. Fantastic stretches his body. The introduction of the 4 heroes is handled like classic cartoons of the old days. And speaking of introductions, First Steps deserves credit for its script right from the start. Instead of retreading the entire origin story, Reed and the crew going to space and being transformed, the film drops us in 4 years later, when they're already beloved heroes. Media and newspapers fill the audience in on who the F4 are, which enemies they've defeated, and what they've contributed. It's a smart, concise montage that gives us all the context without dragging on. Shakman is clearly confident he can convince viewers of the bond between the 4 members without long-winded exposition. And he succeeds. The Fantastic Four come across as a real family. Their bond is shown through Reed and Sue's subtle intimacy, Johnny's occasional hesitation around his brother-in-law, Sue and Johnny's quick but heartfelt high fives, and Ben Grimm's humble grocery runs to cook dinner. Pay attention and you'll notice. They rarely need to explain things to each other, whether in daily life or in battle. They've fought together long enough to understand one another through the smallest actions. One scene in the second act shows this perfectly. While planning how to stop Galactus, Reed doesn't even finish his sentence before Sue immediately realizes his reckless idea and objects. That kind of unspoken communication is consistent throughout the film, thanks to a carefully polished script. Each character also has distinct traits. I was most concerned about Reed Richards beforehand, since he shares similarities with Tony Stark. Fortunately, Pedro Pascal delivers a totally different kind of genius. If you pay attention, you'll notice Reed's arrogance hidden subtly in conversations, his constant need to say he knows every answer. Then, when Galactus threatens Earth, we see him admit for the first time, "I don't know." It's both a glimpse into his character and a powerful emotional shift. Sue's arc is anchored by her pregnancy, giving her a clear maternal drive throughout. Joseph Quinn brings a younger, less womanizing Johnny Storm than past versions, yet still charming, funny, and energetic. Only Ben Grimm feels somewhat underdeveloped. In the comics, he struggles with his monstrous appearance, but the film sidesteps this conflict. He remains the supportive backbone, though overshadowed by the others. The film also has a strong central theme. First Steps begins with a heroic family. The conflict in Act 2 stems from family-related issues. And in the final act, the solution also ties back to family, extended to symbolize unity among all humanity. Reed's plan, which I won't spoil, requires the cooperation of all nations. From the first frame to the last, the theme of togetherness runs deep. Even the subplot involving Shabao follows the same thread. At times, this makes the film a bit sentimental, and some resolutions feel childish. But having a consistent theme gives the movie coherence, something rare in Marvel these days. The pacing is tight, dialogue well-crafted, small gestures carefully purposeful, and all four characters thoughtfully fleshed out. By the end, the movie feels complete. There's no need to excuse flaws with Kevin Feige as saving it for the sequel. A film, regardless of franchise, must stand on its own. For me, Fantastic Four: First Steps earns its place solidly. That said, focusing so much on family life creates a drawback. There aren't many action scenes. For a blockbuster, this can feel like a minus. And when the fights do happen, they're not spectacular. The chase between Shabao and the F-4's spaceship is the most impressive. But the showdown with Galactus, in both scale and resolution, is somewhat underwhelming. Galactus, hyped as overwhelmingly powerful, begins as an unstoppable cosmic force who can even sense Sue's unborn child and flex his terrifying cosmic energy. But by the end, he feels reduced to just another oversized villain. So, if you're expecting earth-shattering battles between Fantastic Four and Galactus, you may feel let down. In conclusion, I still rate the Fantastic Four's comeback highly. This is easily their best big-screen adaptation so far, marking an important milestone as Marvel's pioneering heroes return home. If only the battles had been staged on a grander, more thrilling scale, this would have been near perfect. Still, Matt Shakman's dedication to building the characters is undeniable. He's created a colorful world, breathing fresh air into an MCU badly in need of change. Bigger battles lie ahead, but for now, fans can be satisfied that the heroes of Earth 828 have taken their first steps with solid footing. And that's Filmers' take on Marvel's summer blockbuster. What about you? Do you think Fantastic Four is strong enough to launch Phase 6 and become a cornerstone of the MCU's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments so we can discuss more. That's it for this video. Enjoy your movie watching and don't leave before the after credits scene. It's a big surprise.